Queensland government has announced new legislation to make abortions available for everybody, not just women. Now, I know what you're thinking. Don't be an idiot, Macpherson. Only women can get pregnant. So how could anyone but women require access to abortions? And are you sure this is in Queensland and not Victoria? Well, the Queensland government announced on Thursday changes to their abortion legislation. Let me quote for you. The government says the Abortion Act will replace references to woman with person to ensure all pregnant people can access termination of pregnancy care and strengthen legal recognition of transgender and gender diverse Queenslanders. So now any old man can wander down to his local abortion clinic and insist upon a man's right to choose. The changes to legislation were announced by, and I'm not making this up, Queensland's Minister for Women. Shannon Fentiman announced, and I quote, "As the Minister for Women," she says this with a straight face, "it is extremely important to me that all pregnant women and people in Queensland have access to safe, world-class pregnancy and reproductive health care." Well, the first thing a journalist should ask the Minister for Women is if she intends changing her title to Minister for People. And if not, why not? But the amazing thing is that she's not just Minister for Women, she's also the Health Minister. Can you imagine the surprise of the Queensland Health Minister when she discovers that all pregnant people are in fact women? But then Shannon Fentiman has always been confused about these kinds of things.
I take an inclusive approach. So that's anyone who identifies as a woman. So that's people that are born, with the gender as female, like myself, but it's also trans women. It's also those Queenslanders who are non-binary. Let's be inclusive.
You just say,
Liz, what the hell is going on in Queensland? Can you make sense of this?
no, of course, nobody can, because nobody cares how you identify. That's all rather redundant. If you are pregnant, you are a woman. That's our superpower. Nobody else on earth can pull off that particular trick, which keeps the human race going. But she can't bring herself to say it clearly. And how dare you, while obviously this is a bill to do with abortion and they want to make it more accessible, which why the heck would you want to do that when we desperately need more babies born here? That's why we've got to keep importing hundreds of thousands of people, for crying out loud, make it less accessible. We want them here. But she simply has to then, while we're passing amendments to this bill, move that amendment, which has nothing to do with the actual access, which is what this amendment was supposed to be addressing, but just eradicating women completely out of the bill altogether. Now it's just people.
Well, that's the absurdity of it, right? Because presumably in effect, in law, it doesn't actually change anything. Like, are you telling me that someone who is female who now says they're a bloke goes down to a clinic and says, well, I want your services, that they're going to go, well, but it says in the Act, women only, and you now say you're a man, therefore we're not going to give it to you. That was never going to happen. And we know the problems they've got in Queensland with youth crime, for instance, right? Yeah. Or maybe we should now call it, following this vein, crime committed by those who identify as young, because we can't actually say that these people are youths. All these problems in Queensland, and the number one issue on the lips of the Health Minister, the Minister for Women, whatever they are these days, is, well, we better fiddle with some words in the legislation. Come on!
Which just goes to show as well, because I don't know the stats on how many trans women, trans men have given birth to babies in Queensland, but I'm happy to guess it's a tiny number, if any. Maybe it hasn't even happened yet, which speaks to the fact that this is an agenda they are pushing. This is something they are facilitating even long before time. Has it even happened yet, Fentiman? Because that could have perhaps bulked up her case for having done it. If she can say, look, in the last year alone, we had 5 trans men who gave birth, therefore we want to make this inclusive. No, you haven't even. There's no stats, there's no numbers. You are literally putting this in there to erase gender out of legislation. and you're doing it on purpose. And then we wonder why the West is going to absolute crap, because that's what our governments are talking about.
Yeah.
They don't know what a man is, what a woman is. They're hung up on racism and privilege, this, that, and the other thing. The economy's going down the toilet. Social cohesion's at an all-time low. These guys just talk about whatever they want to talk about. Nobody voted for this.
Whenever you're debating abortion, of course, men are told they can't speak to the subject because, you know, it doesn't involve you. But does this change that now? We're entitled to an opinion.
Well, if you're a trans woman who is therefore a biological man, then apparently you get to speak to it now. There you go. There's some news for you.